Hello Whovians and welcome back to the Weird Side, the third channel. And the last video Tom Mason, me, and TJ Production will make of 2024. Today we're doing my favourite TV shows of 2024. This isn't just UK TV shows, and if you ever see the list online, because sometimes I share the list online, it'll say great shows of 2024, but I have always thought there's a better title out there, and this is what we've come up with today. So, without further ado, it's a very long list. We need to make sure my app on the right way up so we can properly do it. It's a very long list, so I've photoshopped it so that this is the list. I've photoshopped it so that we can see the list in a cohesive manner. Instead of one long list, it's ranged from number 1 to number 66 at the bottom there. So, without further ado, I'll read out the name, read out where it was broadcast, and then I'll talk about the show itself. Some of these programs I've not yet reviewed because I wasn't planning on reviewing them due to those bits wasn't too sure I was to explain it. But when I saw someone else do this, I thought I'll join in, and then I thought, well, I will review that program, but I'll work out the best way to review it. So, let's start off with number 1. Number 1 is got to be the most important TV drama in British telly of this year. I can't say in history because there's probably others, but it's the one and only Mr. Bates versus the Post Office, broadcast on ITV1 for ITV in general. It is still available on ITVX. If you don't know, it's about the post office scandal that's been around for decades, or for years, shall we say. And this year, the ITV have found the right time and thought, yes, this is the right time to do a drama on the programme. Well, a drama on it. And this has helped say, whoa, this is a bad, bad thing. And sort of inspired BBC documentaries with Will Mellor, who's in the drama. ITV follow-up documentary after the first documentary about the real people of the drama, which is what they always do. And so it involves this thing that the characters within it are all real people. Like Alan Bates and Noel Sir. So then ITV did a promotional image for the show to help promote it further. It rubbed out the word Mr. It wrote Sir Bates versus the Post Office, because he's Sir Alan Bates now. And what it is that the Post Office scandal has made courts and laws and all sorts of political things happen, and people are on trials again, and they're doing all these things, and slowly but surely the problem's being fixed, but slowly more than anything, because they've won a lot of NTAs this year. They're winning a lot of awards. They're going to win a good handful of BAFTAs next year. But for now, Mr. Bates vs. the Post Office is amazing. The cast is Toby Jones is in it, and Will Mellor's in it, and the cast is stellar. It's amazing. I would highly recommend it. I think it aired on PBS in America, but I don't know how well it did in America. I know it did massively well in the UK. Number 2 is a returning programme for the second series. In 2025 we'll get a series 3 of Channel 4's mega hit due to the fact that it's set in the, I'm going to say 2000s. It's Big Boys. Big Boys is the second thing that our main actor in it has done since he left Derry Girls, because Derry Girls ended and he went on to be Beyond Paradise, and now he's in Big Boys. Big Boys is a sitcom that is made by Jet Rhodes. I think I'm pronouncing his name correctly. And it's one of those programs where you watch it and go, wow, that's amazing. The creator of it is, Jack Brooks, sorry, I do apologise. He is a massive fan of Doctor Who. So, him having Kamala Cudri, Coduri, in it, who played Jackie Tyler in the early era of New Who in Doctor Who, was brilliant. So we had Dylan Llewellyn, we had John Pointing, Pointing. He'll appear at some point later in this list, because he's appeared in he's been in a lot of TV since Big Boys, and we had other stars. I think the one to talk about, really, that you look at him and for a moment you're like, really? That is who I think it is, because he's changed so much since he was a child, is Olis Odui. Olisa space, this is how you pronounce his last name, Odele. He's best known for CJ in My Parents Are Aliens, but he's also played a copper in Scarborough. He was in Dead Hot. He was also in Chewing Gum. So him appearing in this is amazing, and it's all about university. We don't get many university sitcoms in this style of where it is. Katie Wicks is in it. The YouTuber Chi with a C, Lucella. I do apologise if I mispronounce the name. That's why I went with Chi with a C first, to make sure that we all are on the same wavelength who we're on about. And it's really funny. It makes you really think, well, this is what a sitcom should look like when it's set in a period. So it's on par with How Amazing Derry Girls was, but it was incredible. And this second series was amazing. I watched it all in one day, and I just love it. It's just the joyfulness, the excitement, and everything about it just makes it amazing. Next, we have the second series of The Traitors. I'm saying it in that way because I really like when Alan Cummins says it in the American version. He says Traitors, and because he's Scottish, he's got the accent. And obviously, Claudia Winkleman just has to look really mysterious and really eager. The black hair suits it for it, and the eyeliner. That aired on BBC One, so these are all towards the earlier end of the year. I think the second series of Traitors has some of the memorable moments that has affected reality TV since. So we had Diane, who was in it, and her son Ross was in it. Diane went on to be on Celebrity MasterChef this year, and then appeared on the Big Fat Quiz of Everything. No, Big Fat Quiz of the Year 2024. So she's got a name out there, and we obviously knew. And then we had one of the traitors, former traitors, who went on to appear in Celebrity Mastermind, who had his own podcast now, Paul Gordon, who had also appeared previously on Chatterbix, which is Joe Wilkinson and David Earl's podcast, but he'd also been on the original version of Deal or No Deal with Noel Edmonds, so he was well versed in this world, but this what helped him start to fame, winning Celebrity Mastermind this year, and also not winning, but doing really well and becoming really memorable in The Traitors. I can't wait for the third series. It starts tomorrow, the 1st of January at 9 p.m. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be exciting. Now, at number 4, we've got an interesting addition to our list, because you wouldn't expect this to exist now, is Ted the series. So it's a prequel to the films about the characters when they were younger, and it's still funny, it's still amazing. There's a lot of character development you don't see in the films, because you don't meet all these characters in the films. And I just can't wait for the second series. It aired in the UK on Sky Max, which used to be Sky One, but I think in America it's on Peacock. So the theme tunes really, like big band, big swinging, remind me of Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack era of music. And I think the show encapsulates the fun of Ted and how odd Ted was to appear as a child, and all this antics that occurs because there's a talking teddy bear. And I think that works really well. And overall, I just think that you can't get any better than Ted. And it's one of the highlights of American comedy in this year. Because looking at my list, going any further, I can't actually see very many or any American sitcoms really in this list. Many. There's probably one other, but which I'll have to spell out because I'm not too sure how to pronounce it and I don't want to mispronounce it, but we'll get on to that later. Next, at number 5, we have G-Wid, which is a G-W-E-D. It airs on Sky ITVX. there was an issue with it. So when they first started promoting it, it's Liverpudlian, and it's youth based about that there. And when they first started sharing these clips out, it really hindered the show itself. People were like, oh, that's awful, oh, it's terrible, it's not great. And when you watched it, those people said, oh, it's not great, oh, it's terrible. When actually, that clip out of context is terrible, awful, horrendous. But when you put it in context with the rest of the show, it's incredible. And it's really funny. It's coming back for a second and third series. It's one of those shows that you don't think you're going to like, but when you watch it, even if you don't understand the Liverpudlian accent straight away, if you give it like 5-10 minutes, you'll then understand what's going on, because it's fast paced, it's Liverpudlian slang, so if you're not from Liverpool, you might miss the odd word that you might not understand, but I think that it's universally will be loved, and if it ever goes to America, and if it ever broadcasts in America, I think Americans will love it as well. So, if we go to our next one, is a program that I have reviewed on this channel. So I'm just going to briefly talk about it, is Here We Go Again. Here We Go Again was starring Jim Howick and Alison Steadman and Katherine Parkinson, to name three. Katherine Parkinson and Alison Steadman will return later in this list, because the last time I updated this list was just after Boxing Day. So Katherine Parkinson and all these other, Tom Baston and all these people were incredible. I've already reviewed it. I can't wait for the third series. It is raining really heavily, so if you can hear it, I do apologise. But I'm really excited for the third series, because the second series just was phenomenal. I've already reviewed it, and you'll know how much I love it if you've seen that review. Here's another program I already have reviewed that we wouldn't have expected me to love this year, due to the fact that that genre of TV isn't something I would watch. But I was intrigued to see how Katherine Ryan would portray herself in this, because over time, I slowly become fans of these comedians. Even in the beginning, I might not like them, but then the other show that I do like, I end up then liking them from that. So in the end, I'll follow their career. So Katherine Ryan, Parent Guidance, aired on W, that used to be Watch. Parenting Guidance is getting a second series under a new name to follow the next transition in their lives of the Ryans, which is their last name. And I think that the series itself is, I've already reviewed it, but it's amazing. It shows life. It shows what it's like to be a comedian, as well as doing other famous things. She does a lot of panel shows and a lot of other programs, and bouncing that with 3 kids and worried about having a 4th kid, and all that just feels so natural, not forced. And I think that when you listen to her talk about it on Sunday Brunch, it doesn't feel like it's being forced on her either, and it's one of those programs that you listen to her talk about, well, I get what you mean, it's incredible. Number 8 is one that is easily forgotten due to how early on in the year it was broadcast, but the first series was incredible. They weren't supposed to be making a second series, but because of the viewing figures, the BBC went, can we have a second series? And they went, oh, go on, and it became a success this way. It was The Tourist on BBC One. So it's a programme that was originally set in Australia, but then for the second series moved to Ireland to follow on the story of him trying to remember who he is, him remembering a little bit more about who he is or what he is, or all these other various reasons to try to track down who is oneself. It meant so that he learns more about himself and knows more about who he is as. And I think that the second series worked incredibly well. Even though it wasn't supposed to happen, I still think that it moulded itself on incredible and really good TV. At number 9 is a program I've already reviewed on Reality Show World. So if you want to go and watch my full review, you could do that. And the reason why I'm not going in incredible detail into all these is because I'm briefly reviewing them, because there is 66 entries and we don't want to be here all day watching one video a day. No. doing brief reviews so that you get a gist of it, but you know the type of programmes that I loved in 2024. Last One Laughing Ireland, which was such a success in 2025, having the Last One Laughing England, UK. So we're having comedians, so this is Ireland's most well-known comedians. I wouldn't have expected Catherine Bohart to be in the Irish version because I don't know how well known she is in the Irish comedy circuit in Ireland, but I know she's really well known on the British comedy circuit in Britain. So I thought she would have appeared on the UK version due to her popularity and due to where she is at in the comedy industry here in the UK. So I thought her main area of celebrity and fameness would have been in the UK rather than Ireland, because I don't know too much about the Irish comedy circuit in that sense. But from what I do know, I'm going to let you know, I do apologise. From what I do know, is that the Irish comedy circuit must be really big fans of Catherine Bohart, so that meant that she could appear in the Irish version. And I think that Irish comedy isn't too dissimilar to UK comedy, and having Graham Norton as your host really sells it, because Rebel Wilson hosting the Australian version, though having a big name, really helps sell it. And the show itself was brilliant, funny, and the winner that won deserved it massively. And I think that when I reviewed it, after I'd finished watching it, I just thought it was incredible. And I really do like the format of Last One Laughing. If you've never seen an episode of Last One Laughing, whether it's the original, the Japanese version, or the Spanish, the German, the Norwegian, the Swedish, the Nigerian, the South African version, and all these other adaptations, hosted by various selection of high-powered people, the Russian version and whatnot. Most of the versions are available through Amazon Prime, because it's an Amazon Prime franchise, and it's about Australia, I forgot about it. So comedians are trapped in this Big Brother style house, Canada, Quebec, in this Big Brother style house. Mae Martin was on the Canadian version, not the Quebecian version, which is French Canadian. So they're trapped in this house that's Big Brother-esque, and they can't laugh. If they laugh, they get a red card. Well, you get a warning, and if you laugh again, then you're out. But it's the last person not to laugh. They have to make each other laugh. So you have to be cracking jokes and doing comedy the whole way through, whilst trying to make each other laugh while not trying to laugh yourself. And I think that you watch it, and it's a cracking concept. Aisling Bea was on the Irish version, and it was just cracking. It was brilliant. It was amazing, and it's worth watching my review, because I was just ecstatic about it, and I can't wait for the UK version in 2025, which is only a day away, because it is the 31st of December 2024. The final year of 2024! Not the final year, the final day, my apologies. Now, let's move on to number 10. Number 10 is a programme that is, again, it was promoting on Graham Norton really well. Michael Sheen appears in it every so often. Michael Sheen devises, it's set in Port Talbot. It's based on some elements of truth, because I watched it and thought, oh, I really like this. But I was thinking, what's upset Michael Sheen? Because it's all about the destruction of an industry. And then I was waiting to watch Gogglebox Wales, which is the Welsh language version of Gogglebox. And you can use it with English subtitles. And there was an advert, not an advert, but there was the news on beforehand, and they mentioned the exact same thing The Way on BBC One was about. So about the oil industry, I think it was, or the coal. One of those industries are shutting down and depleting, and The Way is really all about that. It's really all about that, and how when trying to protest for that not to happen, what could go wrong. It's all about the collapse of society, and it's like a dystopian, what would happen if the protests stopped being peaceful and everything went wrong. I'm not going to talk too much about it, because the more you talk about it, the more you're going to lead into spoilers. And The Way on BBC One is incredible. It's on the BBC iPlayer currently, and it's 100% well worth watching, without any spoilers, so I'm not going to say too much, but I loved it. Not enough people talk about it, and I think that it gives off important messages for society, and it gives off things that people need to be aware of. People need to know these things. So I think that it worked really well. And number 11 is a show that sadly won't be returning for a second series. It's never got cancelled. It's written by Sally Wainwright, the writer of Happy Valley. It is Regency Now on Disney Plus. It stars Nick Mohammed, and it stars one of the Derry Girls from the Channel 4 program Derry Girls. It's mystery, it's alternative universe, and it's fantasy. Nick Mohammed plays this, I'd say, angel type thing, fairy, let's say, who gives Nell the power to become really strong and be able to fight. And it's all set in Regency era, and it's incredible. The less said about it, less spoilers about it, the better. But I think that the show itself stands out as one of those Disney Plus originals going, yes, this is what we want from British homegrown programming on Disney Plus. This is incredible. It should have got a second series, and sadly, it wasn't being renewed. And I think that it worked really well, and it's popular, and people loved it, and I just don't know why it's not returning. And number 12 is a BBC Scotland sitcom that aired on BBC Scotland and BBC One. It's available on the BBC iPlayer, and it stars Ashley Stories, the comedian, writer, and actor. So, a few years ago, there was a pilot. This has been developed so that the pilot, some of the elements from the pilot moves over, but not all elements. It's all a show starring Ashley Stories, co-written with Ashley Stories in mind. She won a Scottish BAFTA for it, well deserved. And it's all about a paleontologist who her life's about to change. She doesn't like change because she's autistic, and it's all about how her sister is going to get married. You've got some Scottish comedy royalty in it. Her sister's about to get married. She doesn't like the idea of losing her sister. As in, she's not really losing her sister, but her sister's going to be with her husband, and it's about how her life, how she's trying to control her life in the same way as before, without ruining or losing anyone that she cares for. And they're coming back for the second series. It also starred Ben Rufus-Green, who was incredible in it and well deserved to be in it, and it deserved the three nominations, and 4 nominations, I do apologise, and 2 wins for Scottish BAFTAs. It was just incredible. And Ashley Stories is hilarious no matter what, and she was on Celebrity Mastermind, and she was really good in that as well. At number 13, we have Eric on Netflix. Eric is a puppeteer's dream program, because it's not children's puppeteering, it's not Sesame Street, it's not the Muppets, it's a drama where the puppets are the career of Benedict Cumberbatch's character Eric, who works on a Sesame Street type program, but it's more about the drama and all these new characters. It's phenomenal. It's puppeteering on a grand scale. It's not adult puppeteering where it's crude and rude and a little bit all over the shop because they're trying to be funny. It's not spitting image style puppetry. It's proper Muppet Sesame Street style puppetry, but done in a fantastic new way. The big monster who's always there is one of the best puppets in an adult program ever, because it's not like that Happy Murder film that was trying to be this comedic, and this is more of a serious, hard-hitting drama about a child going missing and they're trying to look for him, and it's all the emotional state of Eric with these puppets. It is absolutely fantastic, and it's well worth a watch over on Netflix. Now, we're gonna jump forward slightly to a few numbers. We're gonna just list off a few and talk about them briefly. So at number 14, we have Good Girls Guide to Murder, which aired on BBC Three, and I will be reviewing in full. It's incredible. It's based off a book of the same name, which I hope to listen to. Mark Baton's in it, and I hope there's a second series. It's really about this girl doing a project, and in the end of it, she ends up solving a murder that wasn't solved previously. There was a cold case, and it works really well. I haven't read the book, so I'm excited to see how the book translated onto screen. At number 50, we've already reviewed this, but Spent on BBC Two. It's brilliant. It's a brand new sitcom in the sense that you know it's a sitcom, but you can tell where the drama is. So it's a mixture of both, and I think it works incredibly well. And we've already reviewed it. At number 16 is one of Channel 5's best dramas. It aired on Channel 5 on 3 nights. I reviewed it on this channel. On the main channel, Tom Mason, on one of the Advent Calendar days, I got the DVD of this. It's The Nightcaller. It stars Sean Pertwee, who I will admit, and I always say this, was incredible. Each episode, his performance got better and better, and by that final, it was immaculate. It's one of Channel 5's best dramas of the year, even though I've got another drama on here from Channel 5 that can't beat it because they're in two different realms. One's lighter than the other, and it's just incredible, The Nightcaller, and I highly recommend it, and I highly recommend you watch my review if you haven't already. At number 17 is my favourite TV show of all time. Check out the background, that'll give a clue. It's also already been reviewed each individual episode on the main channel, Tom Mason. I talk about it all the time on the main channel, Tom Mason. It is Doctor Who! Yes, Series 14 was incredible, including the Christmas special. I reviewed each individual episode on Tom Mason, including the Christmas specials. If you want to hear my opinions on Doctor Who, go and watch that. At number 18 is a sitcom that is returning for BBC Two, which is Series 2 on BBC Two. It's also been talked about Broadcast Magazine as being the best programme of the year. I have it in my list of great shows. I can't say it's the best because then it'll just be hard to say which is the best out of 66 programmes. But We Might Regret This is a sitcom trailing the lives of our main character, who is a wheelchair user. And it's navigating life as a wheelchair user, and about how life formed and what it's like to be in that situation where she needs carers, because she's paralysed in her legs and she needs all this, and while she's also trying to find love, and she's also trying to live a life and not just be restricted by the wheelchair, not just being, oh, you can't do that because you're in a wheelchair. It's all about who she is as a person. The wheelchair isn't the main thing, but the show is trying to help represent disability in comedy on TV more than it already is with Jerk and other sitcoms of the same ilk. But this is trying to say it's not all about the disability, it's about everything. It's about this friend, it's about a partner that she's now got and his family, and all this come together, and it is magical and beautiful and brilliant. Comedy this year has been really strong. Even though we're losing out on our studio-based sitcoms, we are gaining in other comedies in other areas. And number 19 is Daddy Issues. That is Amy Lou Wood, or is Amy Lou Woods, I do apologise, and Sean Bean, that's it. It's one of those programmes that, I think it's Sean Bean, if I do apologise if it isn't. It's about a woman that doesn't know she's pregnant, then knows she's pregnant, but she doesn't know who the father is, or doesn't want anything to do with the father, so she moves in with her own dad. But her and her dad have not always got on. It is returning for a second series, I think, on BBC Three. And it's one of those programmes that utilises the father and daughter, but them trying to regain their relationship together so that they are strong enough to help. So he can help look after the baby, and she can get a parent back in her life. Number 20 is Time Bandits, based off the film of the same name, which aired on Apple TV Plus, which as of the 31st of December, it will be available for free between the 4th and the 5th of January 2025 for a weekend. Sadly, the show's been cancelled now, but it was based on the film. It had Lisa Kudrow in it, Phoebe from Friends. It had Taika Waititi involved, and the film was just amplified to be this outlandish, crazy, hilarious show that you wouldn't expect to be as funny. It'd be heartwarming, it'd be interesting. You sat there week on week watching, going, ooh, ah, and I can't wait to find out what happens next. Is what happens, but sadly, it's no longer gonna get a second series. It's been cancelled. Another Apple TV Plus show that is coming back for another series that has been running for a few years, but this series is the ice on the cake. Is Trying. It's a British comedy drama starring Timothy Spall. It's one of those things that you watch, and this series was all about finding out answers and tracking down answers, and I think that worked really well. And the concept for this series was the main plot of the show, the reason why the show exists, has been solved, but now they're trying to do the thing with these kids now older, because it's all about adoption, and then this series is all about what happens to adopt kids, and now that they're in some of the oldest ones in the teens and all this, what happens with that, and I think that it worked really well. At number 22, we have Funny Women on Sky Max. It's joined it for its second series. Roisin Conaty joined the cast along with Gemma Arterton, who was already in the cast, but it's all about her. It's a fictional world in the 60s about a woman trying to break it into the world of comedy. It's all fictional, but all the sitcoms that were on in the 70s does get mentioned as existing in this universe, but it being on another channel because this is their version of the BBC, but the BBC does exist in that universe. And I think that the show itself really works really well. It's polished, it's funny, and it just shows the world of the 60s in a new original light. And number 23 is a brand new reboot of the original series, now on BBC Scotland, and it also aired on BBC One. Originally, the original version aired on ITV, and it was all based off books by Ian Rankin. It is Rebus. The new Rebus is slightly different to Jon Hamm and Ken Stott's iteration. This is more of a grittier, more of a overall mystery, and I think that Ian Rankin loved this version, and I don't know how much he's seen the previous. When he was writing for Rebus, he didn't watch the original lot, but I think that it worked really well in this new iteration, and it was, to me, as a fan of Rebus, felt really different to how Jon Hamm and how Ken Stott played Rebus previously, and I just think that it worked really well. At number 24, we have The Serpent Queen, that came out for a second series that aired on MGM Plus. I won't talk too much about it because I did interview Steve Furst, who was in the first and second series of The Serpent Queen, and I did talk at length with him about it. It's a really high-powered drama that every episode you're like, what's going to happen next, and you piece all together the puzzle of how they're all linked together in this family and why you're so invested. It's one of those programs you get invested in it in a quite quick succession, and I just think it worked incredibly well, and overall I just loved it. At number 25, aired on BBC Scotland, it came back for a second series. It's a factual programme called Island Crossing, about the ferries from the island, from Calmac ferries, and it heartwarming yet funny at times, but really interesting to learn about crossing between the Isle of Skye, the Isle of Mull, and all these small islands in Scotland that I don't know too much about, but learning about them across the course of the second series worked really well, and it's interesting to see the different characters, like the different people that work at Calmac and the different people that live on these islands, and how the boats affect them when they're not travelling, and how the boats affect them when they are travelling, and all this. I think this overall worked really well. At number 26 is Waterloo Road. It came back for a brand new series on BBC One. Again, like I've been saying this entire time, it worked really well. And I think that Jason Manford, even though he's not known for his acting, the programs I've seen him act in, he was absolutely incredible in. This is no different because he's playing I don't know spoiler, but he played an alternative version of what you thought the character was going to be from the trailer. And so it just was really amazing and really imaginative and just worked perfectly. Now at number 27 and 28, at 27 we've got Taskmaster that aired on Channel 4, and at number 28 we have The Last Leg that also aired on Channel 4. Those two programmes were, well, The Last Leg's returning tonight for New Year's special, but the amazing, the funny, and I can't wait for series 19 of Taskmaster. The New Year's treat was brilliant, but I will talk about that more on Taskmaster World. Right at number 29 is Race Across the World that aired at BBC One. We also had Celebrity Race Across the World, but I don't think I wrote that down on the list. But talking about both of them together, they worked really well. You were like, yes, come on, yes, when you found out who the winner was, and you're really intrigued and you're really engaged with it, and it worked incredibly well. At number 30, we have The Night Sleeper, that is incredible from the get-go, and find out what had happened and how it all works is incredible. At number 31, we have Colin from Accounts on BBC Two. It's a sitcom that returned for its second series from Australia. It was just funny. I can't say more about it because it was spoiling, but this series worked really well, and you got to move on and learn more about the relationship of the characters, not just about the fact that they're looking after Colin, who's a dog. Might add if you ever get that in a pub quiz. At number 32 is Doctors that aired on BBC One. After 24 years, Doctors sadly ended. It was a soap opera that was loved by millions, and that had been running for 24 years, and sadly ended. Hopefully one day it shall return. But the ending is brilliant. One day, oh, those futures bright, one day like this you will see bright. That was a fantastic song to have underneath it, and the cast are brilliant at singing these songs. At number 33, aired on CBBC, is Blue Peter. I've got a whole Blue Peter channel, and so I talk about it over there, but the current era Blue Peter is out of this world, outstanding and amazing. At number 34, we have Phoenix Rise that airs on BBC Three, but gets promoted by CBC. And the cast do show up on slightly Mashup every so often, so I'm not too sure what age range this programme's for, but it feels to me like it's come to its final series, but there might be a new series next year. It's in the same vein as Waterloo Road, but instead of being about a struggle in school, it's about these kids that have a second chance with a programme at a school called Phoenix Rise. And what really makes it work is all the characters and introducing new characters, and having the boiler room as their mini hub for them to meet up. Every time it's on, I'm like, oh, I want to watch it, and I watch it all in one go because I'm over the moon excited about it. At number 35, aired on CBC for its second series, Kind of Spark, which is based off the novel of the same name. The writer of the novel were heavily involved in this, and I think that it wasn't meant for just your CBC audience. It was made for a family audience, so anyone of any age could watch it, because it's all about the experience of these of this girl who's got autism, that trying to work out what to do now that she's not at school for the second series, and trying to work out a new mystery. And I think that it's not just been about the one character, it's been about these collective characters with an overall mystery. It helps to show that you can solve it, that no matter who you are, what you are, life's difficult, but there's also mystery in life, and I think that worked incredibly well. It was funny, it was amazing, it was light-hearted, it was warm. I watched it only one day, and it was outstanding. I can't wait for the third series, and hopefully a few characters that left in the second series could return in their own spin-offs. Because I know that there's a few books that were spin-offs from Kind of Spark anyway. At number 36, we have Geek Girl on Netflix, based off the books of the same name. In similar vein to Kind of Sparks, it works in a way that you get this girl that doesn't know anything about fashion, but then gets catapulted into the world of fashion. At number 37, we have Ludwig on BBC One. At number 38, we have Bump on BBC One. Ludwig on BBC One was incredible. I am going to review it on its own. It worked immensely. It was a comedy, it was a crime, and it was a detective story that David Mitchell did perfectly. At number 38 was Bump on BBC One. It arrived for its 4th series from Australia, and it was crazy, fun, and you learned more about the characters, and you got to enjoy these characters a lot more in this series. At number 39 is Sweet Pea on Sky Atlantic. Sorry I'm just rushing through these, I just want to make sure my iPad A doesn't die on me, and B, so that we get this engaging video. Sweet Pea on Sky Atlantic was dark, thrillery, and less of a comedy in my opinion. It worked really well. I'm excited for the second series, but it was a little bit less of a comedy in my opinion. And number 40 is The Cleaner on BBC One. There's a fantastic sitcom that returned with Greg Davis. I am going to review it on its own, but I think the new series was hilarious. It worked when we learned more about our main central character. And number 41 is Alma's Not Normal on BBC Two. It was the final series and it worked really, really well. The ending was like what you get in the end of Bake Off or the end of Pottery Throwdown or Sewing Bee, where what happened to the characters next, and I think that was the best way to end it. At number 42, we have Day of the Jackal on Sky Atlantic, which is a drama based off the film. It's a reboot, and without spoiling it, the opening scene is the best thing I think I've ever seen in that genre of TV. And I think the characters were clear, the acting was amazing, and I just don't think you can get any better than what we got. At number 43 and at number 44, so at 43 we had Only Child on BBC Scotland, and at 44 we had Sort of Horses on Apple TV+. Only Child stars Gregor Fisher and Greg Hughes, who are playing a father and son duo that get into all these antics, and it's all about him returning home to look after his dad because he no longer has this acting job. And I just think that I can't wait for a second series. It was funny, it was amusing, and it was light-hearted. And number 44, like I said, was Soul Horses, which was a little bit more dramatic, out there, and outlandish, and just not what you expect for this series, and I can't wait for the next series. And number 45 is The Pradeeps of Pittsburgh on Amazon Prime Video, or as I shortened it to Prime Video. It's a show that signifies the love and the weirdness of what it's like to move from India all the way to America and what happens when everything goes wrong. And I just think it worked really well. And number 46 was The Hardacres on Channel 5. Wasn't as incredible as The Nightcaller on Channel 5, but worked really well. It was an adaptation of a book of the same name, created by the team that do the Channel 5 reboot of All Creatures Great and Small. But I think the show itself has warmth and heart about Yorkshire people, like just your average Yorkshire people becoming wealthy landowners, and I think that worked really well. And number 47 is our first entry for Paramount Plus. It's Curfew. I don't want to go too much into detail in this because it's complicated. It's like really hard hitting and it's more politicised, and I'm not really a political person here on the internet, but it worked really well. It justified its points and also showed the negative side of it. And number 48 is the first Australian spin-off for this franchise, Return to Paradise on BBC One. It was remind you of everything that needed to be of a crime drama, and everything it needed to be a Death in Paradise franchise. and it just really worked really well. Lloyd Griffiths was incredible in it. At number 49 and at number 50, so 49 we have Rivals on Disney Plus. It says it for itself. It's incredible. Danny Dyer is better than I expected. And number 50 we are Lady Parts on Channel 4. It's the second series of the show, and I think the song Malala Made Me Do It, I think that's the name of the song, worked really well and had it was one of the key things that made it such an incredible show. And at number 51 we have One Day on Netflix, which is an adaptation from the book, which was previously adapted as a film. It was incredible, funny, amazing, and it's just everything that encapsulates a warm series, but it is sad ending, and I think it was like one of the highlights for Netflix for this year. At number 52, we have Generation Z, which is a Channel 4 program that stars Anita Dobson, who was also in Curfew on Paramount Plus, who was also in Doctor Who Series 14. It also stars Sue Johnston, who's been in multiple things, including the Taskmaster New Year's Treat. And I think the show itself was funny, dramatic, and it's like Johnny Vegas, isn't it? Oh, and it's all these people becoming zombies, and how zombies are humans too, if you in the way they described it. And I think the ending worked really well. At number 53 is Shetland on BBC One. So Shetland returned for a brand new series this year, and I think the series is suspenseful, dramatic, and I think overall brilliant and hilarious. Hilarious because another crime's happened in Shetland. It's one of those, like Midsummer, there's always a crime, and then you find it funny that there's always a crime at that point. At number 54 is the sadly now cancelled My Lady Jane on Amazon Prime Video. It's Rob Brydon's in it, and it's one of those programs where it's got this suspense. It's based on truth, but not all of it is truth due to the elements of fantasy, but it's based on evidential truth of what happened in the British Royal Monarchy. And I think it's well worth watching. At number 55 is Hunted Australia, that airs on the Channel 4 app that used to be called All 4, then before that 4OD. It's one of those programs that you watch and you're invested in from day one, and by the end of it, you really invested, because this series, the third series, was all about the UK. Well, not all. It was all about stealing the money. So it was a mixture of another program in the UK called The Heist, and it's all about stealing this money, and that's going to be the prize pot, and it worked incredibly well. And number 56 is True Detective on Sky Atlantic, another immensely amazing TV show that some critics didn't like, but I thought worked really well. It's mainly about Alaska. Jodie Foster's in it, and I don't want to spoil it, but it was and it is incredible. At number 57 is Junior Taskmaster, very similar to normal Taskmaster, but it's just more junior focused and junior based rather than being about it's about the Taskmaster. The Taskmaster in Rose Fail and the Junior Taskmaster in White Wozniak. I'll be talking about this and much more in depth, because there's also a Finnish version Junior Taskmaster over on Taskmaster World, so stay tuned for that. And number 58 is Inside Number 9 on BBC Two. So this year marks the end for Inside Number 9, including a Inside Number 9 retrospective documentary that aired on BBC Two, as well as a series. I think the ending, Plodding On, is one of the best endings to an anthology series I've ever seen, and it just encapsulated the warmth and amazingness that the show deserved. And number 59 is The Traitors New Zealand, that aired on BBC Three. So the first series aired a few years ago now on TV in New Zealand, but we've only just got it this year. And I mean, the person that won, and I've already reviewed this over on Reality Show World, is the first person from New Zealand I ever interviewed, and I was over the moon that he won, because there's a few people in it that I've interviewed who appeared on the New Zealand version of Taskmaster, whether or not they were on it or they worked on it, were in it. And it was like, I want you to win, I want you to win. Oh, yes, I want you to win. Woo, woo, well done. And I was so impressed and so happy when the winner was who I wanted it to be. At number 60, we have Mr. Loverman, that aired on BBC One, based off the book of the same name, and starred a Doctor's alumni. It's a mixture. It's one of those programs that I didn't know too much about, as in the background, and I never read the book, and I didn't know much about the cultural differences. And I really liked how it was heartwarming, how it stuck to its true self, and it didn't distract from what was best loved about it and what people loved about it. And I think that it had a heart to it, even though it was sad. It was sad for both parties. I don't want to give too many spoilers, but it's all about the main character who was married and knew he was gay, but he didn't want to hurt his wife, and he didn't know what to do. And it was all about him trying to learn how to be his true self without upsetting anyone, without hurting anyone, and without letting the situation get any worse, because he didn't want to upset people, but he also wants to try and be his true self. And I think that really worked in itself, and the elements of that also really worked. At number 61, we're getting closer to the Christmas Day stuff. 61, we have After the Party on Channel 4. It's a New Zealand drama that has twists and turns, and I can't mention due to the fact that A, they're not family friendly, and B, because I generally don't want to, because I don't want to spoil it, but it's twists and turns that breaks this family apart, and they're trying to find ways of mending the family together. And it is incredible. New Zealand do cracking programs with that. Is one of the best dramas I think I've seen from New Zealand. And number 62 is Wallace and Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul, that aired on Christmas Day 2024 on BBC One. It was funny, it was amazing. Peter Kay was in it, and Feathers Magoo, I think that's how you pronounce it, was in it. And you can't get any better than that, can you? No, it was amazing, it was funny, and it was heartwarming. I highly recommend it. And number 63 was the final ever episode of Gavin and Stacey, that aired on 9 PM on BBC One on the 25th of December 2025, Christmas Day. It was 2024, sorry, not 2025. Christmas Day. It was heartwarming. It was brilliant. Every question other than the fishing trip was answered. I don't think we wanted to actually know what happened on the fishing trip, because that's the whole point of that gag, is that no one wants to know. And I think that the show itself really lent itself for this final. This final was the best final of a sitcom there's ever been. And I don't want to spoil it, but it was heartwarming and it was just beautiful. And number 64 was the Outnumbered Christmas Special that aired on BBC One on Boxing Day at 9 PM. It was overshadowed by Gavin and Stacey, but it was just as good. It wasn't the final ever episode, but it was a good look back in at the family and what they're up to now. And I think Karen has had the most character development since, because Jake was in Auckland, in New Zealand, and was bound to be the oldest one, bound to be the one to have a grandchild and all this, and that was inevitable. Ben was a wild card because his theories and what he liked was different in this one than it was in the 2016. And I think Karen was the youngest, she had a lot more scope to develop, and I think what they've done to the character has helped develop the character further, and I think that when we come back next time it'll be even better, and I just really liked it. At 65 and 66 are two very similar programs, both aired on Channel 4. The first one, at number 65, is a Great Pottery Throwdown, and the one at number 66 is a Great British Bake Off. They are both amazing, heartwarming, and the winner was well deserved. So, there you have it. Thank you guys for watching, and I wish you all a Merry Christmas. I hope you had a wonderful Christmas, and I hope you have a wonderful New Year's Eve. I'll be back in the new year on the channel. I do apologise for out of focus for the first video with the few bits and bobs happened, so I do apologise. But anyway guys, thank you guys for watching. Talmud Tamad, Bye.